Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. The eco-terrorist culture destroyers are back at it. You know, it's funny how they claim that they do stunts like this in order to draw attention to the immediate climate catastrophe that never seems to happen, even though we are conveniently always on the verge of it happening. But all these stunts do is to make people even more opposed to their doomsday cult. So I guess in that way, keep it up. Anyway, this latest video comes from the final round of the PGA's Travelers Championship in Cromwell, Connecticut on Sunday. 6 of the protesters were arrested. And it makes sense that they would act out now. It's summertime, it's getting hotter, and like clockwork, the media is fear-mongering about this time things are different, the heat is worse, we're heading toward calamity, everybody's gonna die, blah, blah, blah. But wait, if we're heading for a climate-induced heat wave of epic proportions, then why are Olympic athletes in Paris purposely being denied air conditioning by the officials who built their village for next month or in August in order to make this summer's games the greenest ever? Aren't those officials afraid they'll all die in this massive heat wave? Those cooling water pipes they put in the floors ain't gonna cut it because those rooms are allowed to get as hot as 79 degrees, and they're not allowed to get much cooler than that. But for all the climate alarmism coming out of the U.S., guess which country is smuggling in portable AC units for their athletes? The U.S. Joining us now to debunk these summertime myths is biostatistician Steve Malloy, the founder of JunkScience.com. Steve, thanks for being here tonight.
Hey, Kara, thanks for having me back.
Great. So are we experiencing a killer heat wave caused by greenhouse gas emissions or not? Because why else would the Olympic officials in Paris think it's a good idea to leave athletes who are out there hot and sweaty without AC?
Well, I mean, it's hot for sure, but of course it is summer. And so this is to be expected. And, you know, the past week we've heard about all these records being broken. There haven't been any real records broken. Maybe some calendar day records here and there. But of course, you know, it's been this warm and a lot warmer many years before. New York City was complaining about being in the low 90s last week. In 1888 in New York City, it was in the high 90s. And this is after 136 years worth of emissions and urban heat island effect. So the whole, you know, and the purpose of all this obviously is to link it with, you know, climate. And if that's what they're trying to do, well, they're just showing to the public that, you know, it's a hoax what they're trying to do. There's no there between emissions and the weather.
So what are some of the craziest claims that you've heard thus far from the Washington Post or any of these other media outlets now that, like you said, it is summertime, and guess what? That means things are going to be a little bit hotter right now.
Well, I mean, you know, today Bloomberg was hyperventilating about the coming week in Dallas, for example, where they said, oh, you know, might get up to 98. Well, yeah, it might even get up to 100. But of course, that pales in comparison to what happened 24 years ago in 1980, when this week in Dallas, it hit 113 and was between 106 and 113 for a whole week. Now, that's really hot. And of course, 1980 was, you know, way before climate hysteria even began. None of these, so, and all these claims, none of them stand up. In Washington, D.C., we had scares this week. You know, it was as hot as it was in 1988. Well, okay, what do emissions have to do with anything? And you can look at any of the claimed record temperatures, and it's always like that. It's happened before. It's been a lot warmer before, a long time ago, before emissions and urban heat island effect and all sorts of things.
And then it's crazy, though, because like we're saying, out of one side of their mouth, they'll say things are so hot. It's never been this hot. It's record breaking. We're all going to die. You know, it's all because of these evil oil companies, I guess, and evil Americans who just won't give up their gas stoves and their cars and just living normal lives. But then the other side of their mouth, you know, it's not just the Olympic athletes that they say, oh, keep it at 79 degrees in your house, but they want us, just regular people living that are ACs. They don't want it below 79 degrees. So far, they haven't forced that on us, but I think Spain tried to a year or two ago.